Hi, I wanted to make this video to educate people about Hamas. We hear all over the news about what's happening in Palestine, and we hear the word Hamas a lot, especially from the Israeli media, and the Israeli government. It sounds like a green light for them to do whatever they want, and get away with crimes and technically the Israeli government, they're doing everything they want and no questions asked. And if anybody asks why you do this, the only answer is Hamas. It's like a golden magic word, a golden key, to have full access to whatever they want, and they can get away with everything. So I'm gonna explain what's Hamas. First thing, I'm Palestinian. I lived in Gaza in the late 90s and early 2000s, to be exact, from 96 to 2003. So I want to explain what is Hamas and what does it mean for Palestinian, what does it mean to Israel, for people who doesn't know what's really going on, even Arabs or Western or Middle Eastern or even Palestinians who don't live in Gaza, they don't really have a proper idea of what Hamas is. All what we know about Hamas is what we hear from the media. But now I'm gonna talk about Hamas as a Palestinian who lived in Gaza, and I experienced Hamas firsthand, so I know exactly what Hamas is. So I'm gonna explain it the way I saw it. I'm not taking any sides I'm not pushing any agendas, or I'm not even talking as a Palestinian. I'm just talking as a witness who lived there, who witnessed this. So here is my explanation. First, I want to start with the peace agreement the Palestinians did with Israel in the 90s, mid-90s, Oslo agreement. And it was signed between Yasser Arafat and the Palestinian behalf and Ishaq Rabin in the Israeli side, which the Israelis, they killed him after that because of that peace agreement he signed. And it's funny, they claim the Palestinians they don't want peace, while they killed the only prime minister who actually signed the peace agreement. So clearly who doesn't want peace? It's the Israeli side. Anyway, the Americans, the Russian, they sponsored the peace agreement because Israel is the occupation force. The Palestinians are under the Israeli occupation, and I don't see how can anyone force Israel to stick to an agreement. So that's why we have USA and Russia to make sure this agreement will be enforced. But unfortunately, the American didn't do anything about it. So Israel just walked away from all agreements, everything, and the Americans didn't say anything. So I kind of put the blame all on America, the international community with its head, America. So let me talk about Hamas now. So in the 90s, mid-90s, when the Palestinians signed the agreement, Oslo agreement, the peace agreement with Israel, the Palestinian had the peace agreement wasn't just one agreement and that's it. There's lots of stages. It's complicated. Anybody can study the Oslo agreement. All the details I'm sure it's available online or in library. But anyway, every time the Palestinians are about to move to a next stage where we can get more control and more freedom, and the Palestinian Authority become more in control of Palestinian territories, every time there is a suicide bomber, a bus will explode in the middle of Tel Aviv, despite all the Israeli security, and so I don't know how like somebody go through all the security and there is a bus explosion in the middle of Tel Aviv, and then the entire Israeli street and the media and everybody, oh, the Palestinians don't want peace. And then the Palestinian Authority said, well, we want peace, and we don't agree with those like suicide bombers, but that was not enough for Israel. Israel will always say, no, like the Palestinians are responsible for our security. So I don't understand, like, how can you be under someone's occupation and you're not even a free country yet, and then you're responsible for their own security? So they still like kept putting the blame on Palestinian Authority, represented by Yasser Arafat. And Yasser Arafat, he tried to stop these suicide bombings, but I don't know, every time he tries, like, and the entire media, I don't know how is it driven, or like they all go against him, like, oh, you're stopping like freedom fighters or whatever. So it was Hamas usually responsible for these suicide bombs. And every time Yasser Arafat, he tried to stop them. Like, I witnessed that. I lived in Gaza in the late 90s. All the human rights organizations, American mostly, and some European, they will go like, oh, the Palestinian Authority should not arrest like other like parties people, and should be a democratic state. Like so every time Yasser Arafat or Palestinian Authority, they try to stop these I don't know what to call them, but anyway, let's call them Hamas. Like there is like another like smaller groups, but mainly the bigger one was Hamas. So every time they are touched by the Palestinian Authority, the entire world go against the Palestinian Authority and says, oh, they're abusing human rights, they're arresting people because they have different political view, or they're from different party, they're not from Fatah, which is Palestinian Authority. So I always like questioned, like, is really the Americans like are pushing like Hamas to be on power, and they're weakening the Palestinian Authority? Like, why they're untouchable? Like, okay, I understand if the Palestinian Authority arresting people for political like if they are from different political like party, but these people, their difference is not just political, it's violence. Like, you know, they're like, we are not with peace, like, and we want to continue like fighting with using violence, like violent resistance. And the Palestinian Authority decide like no more violence, and we're signing peace agreement. So every time the Palestinian Authority forces, like, which is like the Palestinian police, Authority police, they arrest Hamas members, like, and I witnessed that they wouldn't like beat them or something. They just like talk to them, like, can we give peace a chance, like, and they will refuse. And then the entire Arabic media, led by Al Jazeera, like had a huge role like on pushing like these violent anti-peace ideas to the Arab mass, like not only in Palestine and Gaza, and even in the whole Arab world. There is like a huge attack on the Palestinian Authority on Al Jazeera, saying, oh, they're traitors, they're arresting freedom fighters, like whatever. And so they are encouraging violence in a like full support to violence, like for Hamas against Palestinian Authority. So all this weakened the Palestinian Authority. And so the attack on Palestinian Authority from the Americans and West, represented by like all these human rights organization, and then the Israelis, like, they killed, they assassinated like Ishaq Rabin. So the Israeli government not any better, like, too. So they're pushing the extremists in Palestine, represented by Hamas, into power, and they killed Ishaq Rabin, and then the extremists, and they took over the government in Israel too. So everything was leading to violence, like, and it's not coincidence. It's all like pushed through to the Palestinians, like to end up like in violence. So it's the marking day of, like, the point where everything turned into violence. It was in the year 2000 when Sharon was the prime minister in Israel, and he kept like he walked into the Al-Aqsa Mosque, and he said like things about like, okay, the Palestinians will never get anything, or, and by the way, like during the whole like peace process, like the Israeli settlements never stopped like expanding and building more and taking more Palestinian lands. So all this weakened the Palestinian Authority, make them look like they're wasting time by hopeless peace talks, because clearly nobody wants peace. Hamas don't want peace. The Israeli government don't want peace. And then all of a sudden one day, like, we hear there is Al-Aqsa Intifada. And I was in Gaza. I work in a news agency. Anyway, we saw the news like everyone else. So we went out in the streets to see what's going on. And I experienced that like firsthand. We went to where the settlement location, and like some Israeli settlements in Gaza locations, where we hear like there is like Aqsa Intifada, like people are out and there is like riot or whatever. So we go out to see what's going on, just like many young people too. And all what I saw, like the Israeli military, like the settlements, they're basically military bases there. It's not like a civilian settlement. It's all a military base with tanks and heavy machine guns and fences. They were just shooting at, like randomly shooting everyone. Like they're just shooting at Palestinians. And the more Palestinians casualties, the more angrier the people, and then some people like throwing back stones or burning tires. And then there is some masked people from behind all the Palestinian people. They're shooting towards the Israelis. Now Palestinians, they said, oh, they're like freedom fighter or whatever, like, or Palestinian resistance, but I doubt, like nobody know who they are. I am just like thousands of other young people. We are unarmed. We're looking to see what's going on, and these masked people, they're shooting at the Israelis, and the Israelis not shooting back at those masked people. No, they're shooting the civilians, unarmed people. I'm like, I can't prove it, but I think these people either paid by Israel or they're Israeli forces or whatever, like they are like the masked people. They're just shooting at the military post to make the soldiers like shooting back, and they just shoot everybody. And from there, everything like just went down to shit. Like the Israelis went full force into Palestinian territories. Basically, they destroyed everything represent the Palestinian Authority. Everything, even if it's a symbolic like to our freedom, like the Palestinian airport in Gaza, we had an airport. That's the first thing they destroyed. I don't know how is this have to do anything with terrorism or Israel security or whatever. They destroyed every new road we built. So everything to improve the Palestinian life in Gaza, they destroyed. So I know the real reason of the war wasn't like fighting terrorists, or so it's just destroy everything representing Palestinian freedom or Palestinian state. So all the ministry buildings, all the archives of like files, like civilian files. I don't know like how is that like fighting terrorism, but the Israelis, they destroyed all this. That was in the first days of their invasion to Gaza and West Bank. And I'm going to only talk about Gaza because I was living this and I saw this. And over the next few years, in the early 2000s, the Palestinian Authority like technically like was on the ground destroyed. Like the Israeli army destroyed everything like they have, and that pushed Hamas into the front. Like so Palestinian people said, okay, peace didn't work, the Palestinian Authority is weak. So Hamas appeared as the savior, as the one who's gonna save the Palestinians, the one who's gonna respond to all these Israelis aggression and attack. And Al Jazeera like worked so well like of polishing that idea and pushing it to people, and everybody like said, okay, yeah, the Palestinian Authority is useless, they're weak, So lots of people, they start like supporting Hamas. And I remember in the mid like years of like right after things calmed down a little bit back then in the early like 2000s, 2001, 2002, and the entire world led by America pushed so hard for Palestinian election. Like, I don't know, like the Palestinian Authority completely destroyed everything. And now all of a sudden America is so interested in democracy in Palestinian areas, and they wanted election. And they said, we won't like negotiate, we won't move on with peace with the Palestinian Authority unless they do election. And they pushed so hard on it, like, and they punished the Palestinian Authority, they cut fund, everything. At the same time, the fund was unlimited coming to Hamas through Israel, from Qatar and from, like, technically it's coming from Israel. Maybe it's the money is from Qatar, but it's all literally coming from Israel to Hamas. And nobody questioned that. Like, I don't know why, like, and even years later, like even Netanyahu admitted like all this. Like he said, like, we have to make Hamas strong to split the Palestinians, and they did. There was election, and people elected Hamas. They barely won, but win is a win. So they had like a government between Hamas and Fatah in Gaza, and that's when immediately the entire world said, okay, we don't negotiate with Hamas. So they pushed them, they put them on power, and as soon as they are on power, they said, okay, now we don't have a real like peace partner, so we can't do peace with the Palestinians. So there is no more talk. And Hamas was so powerful, like by funding and military, like, and again, like when Gaza was like, the Palestinian territory is so blocked, like even if you want to import like milk for children, it has to go like approved by Israel. But yet Hamas have like so much like guns and weapon. I wonder how they get it. Like if it wasn't through Israel, like I live there and I know like you can't get anything into Gaza unless it's approved by Israel. So Israel weaponized Hamas. Israel destroyed and weakened Palestinian Authority, and then Hamas like thought, okay, we are the only power here. Why we don't even need to be partners with the Palestinians Authority. And they just did a coup. So they killed Palestinians, like Hamas people. They killed anybody who represent like Palestinian Authority, and they arrested the rest. And anybody who opened his mouth or opposed them, he go arrested. And how dare you like question the Palestinian resistance, like this kind of. And of course Al Jazeera had a huge role in this, like by marketing this idea of Hamas as the real like freedom fighters who's gonna bring freedom back to Palestinians. And almost most people in Arab world, Palestinians and Arabs outside Gaza, they support Hamas because of Al Jazeera. But every single Palestinians in Gaza is against Hamas because they know what it is. And the only ones who support Hamas in Gaza is the people who's like benefiting, like Hamas members, or they're getting paid. So of course they're gonna defend it. And always the question, like, they're getting paid by who? They're getting paid literally by Qatar, and the money comes through Israel. So I don't know, when Israel say we want to destroy Hamas, I have a big question about that, because they destroy everything but Hamas, and they always call these wars on Gaza, on Hamas. They're not wars, they just like go in and they just kill, destroy people and civilians in the name of destroying Hamas. And after each war, like, yeah, war. After each one, Hamas come out like untouched, and the Palestinian people are the only one who's suffering. So this is really what Hamas is. It's just a tool the West, led by the Americans, they created. And of course it's protected and funded by Israel. Like maybe the fund not directly from Israel, it's from Qatar and Iran maybe too. But it comes through Israel. So they will do anything to save Hamas, because Hamas is like a green light for them, like to do whatever they want in the name of fighting Hamas. So anybody who wonder what is Hamas, this is Hamas. This is, in my opinion, this is what Hamas is. It's a tool created, like it's just like it reminds me of Iraq when they asked George Bush, like when he occupied Iraq in the year 2003. They asked him, so when the American troops are gonna pull out from Iraq? He said, after we finish Al-Qaeda. Well, Al-Qaeda never existed in Iraq before the Americans went in. So you go in, you create those you want to call them terrorists, and then you stay there in the name of fighting terrorists. And how the idea of Hamas get accepted in some Palestinians area, because of course when you destroy every hope people have in peace, like what else left, like what other options they have? Like I'm very against Hamas because I know what it is, Hamas. Like and that's the reason why I don't live in Gaza anymore. But then when you ask me as a Palestinian, okay, so what's the alternative? Like, okay, you destroy any chance of peace. So I don't know. And then somebody asked me like to condemn Hamas or something. Like as much as I hate them and I understand why Hamas is created, I'm not gonna condemn them. I condemn Israel and America who created them. You know, I condemn Israel and America who created this situation, which make like young people with no hope only to join Hamas. You know, like yeah, there is thousands of supporters of Hamas in Gaza and they're young people. What other options they have? Give them a chance, give them peace, give them an opportunity like to have a better future. And trust me, Hamas will disappear. They created it, and then they genocide against Palestinians, like they literally wipe out Palestinians in the name of fighting Hamas. But the real goal is not like, I know like this last offense of Israel on Gaza, it's not about Hamas, it's about land, you know? You're emptying the land from Palestinians. Gaza is a problem to Israel. There is like 2 million Palestinians and they need to be out, and they're pushing them to Egypt, and that's the whole thing. It's a genocide, human displacement, you know, like population displacement. And Hamas is the magic key to open all these illegal doors of abusing people and committing war crimes and give it a legal cover, fighting terrorism, you know. As a Palestinian, like it make me angry, and I don't know, maybe not angry, like it's just like you lose hope of humanity. Like when people claim America and the West, they have like they're civilized and they have like human values, and then I see what's happening, like this is all bullshit. Like if what happened to the Palestinians since, like, it's not like just since October 7, like or the last like few weeks. No, it's happening since 1948. If one of these crimes happening against a cat or a dog in some Western countries, it's gonna be like first page news, you know, animal cruelty or whatever. So it's a hopeless case. It's all driven by, I guess, money and like financial interest, like of the West and in the Middle East, and they need Israel to be there to keep everything under their control, and that's it. It's all about money. But then the media play like dirty role of manipulating the public opinion, and I guess lots of people they see what's going on in their eyes, and I think they have brain and they can figure it out. Like it's not about and when somebody said, oh, it's the Muslims, like it has nothing to do with Muslims. Palestinians, like we have Palestinians Jews, Palestinians Christian, Palestinians Muslims, and lots of Palestinians who don't believe in God. Like, you know, don't put God and religion in the middle of this. It has absolutely nothing to do with it. And even like when, as a Palestinian, when I see like people supporting us and say, oh, we support you because we're Muslims, like, no, man, like, I don't need this freaking support because of you're Muslim or no. As a human, you see something wrong like happening to another human, you just refuse it, you know. And for me as a Palestinian, like if I see the same thing happening to another people, like it's the same thing. It hurts me, you know, like what's wrong is wrong. Like what's happening to Syrian children in Syria, or what's happening to children in Yemen, like. And it's funny, whenever like wherever like in the Middle East, like I'm not aware of conflicts outside the Middle East. I'm from the Middle East. I'm aware of, like, I lived there, so I experience it firsthand. I have more information about what's going on. And every conflict in the Middle East, you always find like Iran hands or Israel hand. Wherever you find Israel hands or Iran hands, there is like suffering and destruction. It's hopeless case. I don't know. I hope this will help someone to understand what Hamas is exactly. Like nobody just wake up one day and say, "Oh, I'm Hamas." No, and that's how it's created. Like Israel created Hamas, America created Hamas. It was a decision from America to create Hamas, and Israel was the tool to create it.